Well, you haven't killed anyone, have you, Billy?
Well, I'll tell you this.
I'm not into anyone other than you. And my head only does what it wants me to do. And I've lost myself on so many levels that last year I didn't know where my head was, but you get lost inside your smile. I'm not into anyone. I'm not into anyone. I'm not into anyone other than you, if you wanted me to.
Okay, so I'm here with Richard Harrison, who has just finished his debut feature film, The Here and Now, which I believe is screening at St George's Theatre in Great Yarmouth. Am I correct? On the 23rd of June?
You are? Yeah.
Okay, so could you tell us a little bit about the film and kind of about the characters and the episodes that you've got?
I'll try. It's a film about friendships and relationships. There are 8 linked stories in the film. And we filmed on location in Yarmouth, all parts of the town, the rows, the seafront, up as far as the race course, down to the south, as far as Nelson's Column, in the park. The town has never looked more beautiful.
So you said that the film is filmed primarily in Great Yarmouth, or
Yeah.
all the locations in Great Yarmouth.
Yeah.
What made you want to just film in Great Yarmouth and not anywhere else, like Lowestoft and stuff like that?
Well, though I like Lowestoft, and it's somewhere that we used to come to, and I now live here, I was born in Great Yarmouth, and I think the town gets a lot of bad press, so I thought I wanted to try to redress the balance, really, and say this is a really lovely place, and tap into some of the history as well, and just kind of create a visual love poem to Yarmouth, really.
So you said there was 8 consecutive episodes that all link in together.
Yeah.
How did that idea come about to make a feature film that had episodes and not the general convention of just one whole thing?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure where the inspiration for that came from. I think possibly that I've done short films in the past, possibly that I write short stories. So the idea of creating something longer is not good. But I think perhaps as well the idea that a feature film, a kind of more conventional feature film, may just outlive its interest, really, unless it's really good. People lose interest early on. And I think from the outset then it was, I had lots of individual stories I wanted to tell, and then it was just a question of kind of knitting them together and forging a story. I also thought it would be slightly more innovative and unusual than just doing a traditional film with, meet characters, get to the end of the film and you've got those characters again.
Alright, okay. So obviously we've talked about how you got the ideas for each individual episode. So obviously you said you've done short films previously. What's it like going from creating short films to doing a feature film?
Well, I think the perhaps another reason for the structure of the Here and Now was the fact that they are like a series of short films, so therefore there's not that pressure that there would be for a feature film. So you can work with a cast on one day. The cast can come down late. One or two cases they came down late one afternoon, and then it was meet them, get them sorted accommodation-wise, film the next day, and then they go home end of that day or the next day. So you only have that limited structure. I think it's perhaps, I don't know whether it's less pressure or more pressure, because you have to film on those days. If you've got the cast down and there's a day, say it's a Tuesday, that you've agreed to film, you have to get the footage on the Tuesday. There's no going back. There's no doing it on the Wednesday because they're going home. So there is that, but maybe you have a bit of breathing space in between the filming dates, and I worked out that we started shooting in June 2018 and finished in April 2019. So that's 10 months of filming, but actually to do 8 episodes, 8 stories.
Yeah. So you said it was about 10 months of filming.
Yeah.
Was there any points in time where you thought, oh, this might not happen because of how long it was going to take, or were you just confident throughout the whole thing?
Oh no, I had tremendous doubts, and there were at least 2 occasions when I thought this is never going to be finished, and this is just we just can't do it. And it was just maybe just logistics where things happened and you couldn't do anything about them, or it was just the way the film progressed. And even once it was shot, then thinking I'm not sure that putting it together, it just seemed a huge task, because I didn't edit it as I went along, so I got everything to do at the end, and it just seemed just such a daunting task. But we also had the odd major problem kind of during the filming, and then I thought, is this just never going to happen? And it's just never going to be finished.
Okay, so obviously you've said that there were a few major problems. Kind of, could you run down what was probably the hardest thing for you on production, on set, with cast, crew, and everything like that?
I think probably that the hardest thing, we had one particular day, and we filmed on filming on something like the Tuesday, and I met one of the actors fine, and then one of the actors didn't show because he was travelling a long way, travelling from Bournemouth, and trains had been cancelled, and I got a text saying, I'm not coming. And I thought, this is 4 o'clock one afternoon, we're filming the following morning early, and we have 1 actor. We have accommodation booked for 2 actors, but we have 1 actor. So there was that, and then when we came to film, that wasn't too bad actually, the actual filming, but it was that things like that, and you thought, this is just, how are we going to get round this, and you end up just thinking, is this more trouble than it's worth? And is this a complete folly to carry on with this?
Okay, so how did you manage to overcome that on set then? Obviously you wrote the script for 2 actors, and only 1 showed. How did you overcome that?
Well, on that particular one, I managed to get another actor. So it was just a question of going home, looking through Facebook friends and thinking, who could act and who would be suitable to be in this movie, and who might be able to do it as well, and then asking whoever it might be, that was okay, but it was difficult. And I went back to the hotel where the 1 actor was, and having just got this text from this guy saying I'm not coming, and I said I need a hug and a cup of tea in that order, and he said, yeah, that's no problem. And that kind of made me, the fact that he was very supportive made me feel better. Because it could have been kind of the end of everything, really.
Well, it was good to hear that you had a supportive actor and you did find someone else.
Yes. And he was great, incidentally, and I can't imagine anybody else in that role now. So,
well, that's good to hear that. Yeah. Going back 10 months to when you first started filming, what was it like? What did it feel like, kind of having a proper cameraman, having a crew together? Obviously, you've done short films before, so you probably had a cameraman and a crew. But what did it feel like to kind of go, I've got this feature film planned, I've got this storyline, and then to actually start making it?
Well, I'm trying to think if I've ever worked with anybody else as cameraman before, and if I have, so rarely I can't think of it. So principally the camera, I've always been behind the camera, and crew has often been, minimal crew has often just been me doing everything. So this is a really bizarre experience, but just the opening, seeing the opening lines and stuff like that, is kind of shiver down the spine time, and you think, God, this is happening, and these are my words, and the way they're acting them out, and this is kind of everything. So that this is an extraordinary feeling, but a magical feeling at the same thing,
I can imagine. I mean, obviously, I've done my own.
Yeah,
one, and
absolutely.
Having those words expressed is obviously it's a very surreal experience. Having someone else say something you wrote down.
Yeah.
So I can imagine how humbling it must have felt for you. So obviously you teach creative media.
Yes.
And also film studies.
Yeah.
What's it like trying to juggle your film and teaching?
Well, I'm certainly glad that we shot the majority of the Here and Now before I started the job, because if I'd not done that, I don't think it would have ever got made, because it was just, it's been too full on otherwise. It's been difficult. The hardest thing's been finding the headspace to think about things, because it invariably, as a lot of anybody listening, if you're a teacher, will know, it is the weekends. The weekends are the times that you then think, right, I can concentrate on this. But by the time you've kind of got over the week, and then you've thought ahead for the next week, there's not very much time in between to really get your head around what else remains to be done. And it was not only thinking what else remains to be done, what needs to be written, but also what needs to be edited of the existing film, and sorting music and stuff out. So all of that, that juggling has been difficult. The thing that I look back and think, God, how on earth did we do that, was one day of filming, the day I talked about, with the actor pulling out, then another day of filming, and then I moved house on the third day. And that was, looking back, I think, God, how on earth did I do that? But I did.
Magic.
Yeah, maybe.
So obviously you've got a pretty big cast. I've seen the trailer that you've released, and I've been fortunate enough to see a few scenes that you filmed, and I might say that they were all looking marvellous.
Thank you.
What made you go with 4K over 1080 quality-wise?
I think James Hubbard, who shot the film, I think when I talked with him about it, and he said that he can shoot in 4K, it was something I thought, I've never done this before, and I'm interested in that aspect of it, being able to kind of break new ground. And I thought, even if I never shoot in 4K again, let's have the first one in 4K, and then seeing the kind of the clarity of the image and everything else, I thought, let's do it.
So obviously 4K is quite a big thing to take on, editing wise. What were the challenges when you brought it into the editing software that you faced?
Well, I think the biggest challenge was the file sizes, because they're just huge.
Yeah.
And dealing with the amount of footage, the amount of clips as well. The world has got more complicated, because years ago with filming and shooting on film, my very, very, very first film was shot on Super 8mm cine film. So that's actual film. Whereas now with digital, it's got harder, because there are all these different file types. With film, once you shoot on film, you shoot on film. Whereas now, dealing with all these different file types, and that was awkward as well, having to work with big files and files that the computer didn't want to play, and had to convert and mess around with. So I did have a bit of technical help.
Well, it's good to hear that you had a bit of technical help and support there. So obviously, music-wise, for Van, it's a very interesting assortment of music that you've got. Could you tell us a little bit about the thought process that went into it all, and how you picked the artists and what music you just wanted to use?
I think it ends up being a bit of a compromise with anything. And looking back at the film, there were tracks I wanted to use and didn't end up using. I wanted actually somebody to perform a couple of tracks, and he couldn't devote the time to record them, so that idea was scrapped. I was inspired actually to write one episode of the film by hearing Lucy Grubb and her song Cowboy, And I thought, right, that's great, and kind of pictures in my mind for that. And then when Lucy recorded that track, I heard some of her other songs, and I thought, well, actually, these would really fit. So I then started to think, right, those would fit in. And then it's a question of coming up with some other music that would seem to fit. And I had a kind of vague idea in my mind of what I wanted. And then once I heard it, I thought, that's magnificent. That's exactly right for the film. The piano music is glorious. It's just exactly right for the film.
Yeah. So I've heard you do interviews before, and it's obviously it's a different scenario now. Because you're talking about your film.
Yeah.
And the one question I always hear you ask people during an interview is, if you could go back and ask yourself, your 12-year-old self, or tell your 12-year-old self that you're doing this feature film, what would your 12-year-old self say?
Wow. Well, I think my 12-year-old self would be amazed. That's the first thing, because my 12-year-old self had no comprehension at all of really anything. Anything full stop maybe, but certainly nothing film related. I'd love to sometimes think about this. I'd love to go back and say to him, have more confidence and stand tall.
Yeah.
Because I was always very shy, always kind of the one who relied on other people for the ideas, and just somebody that was a little bit uncertain of himself really, and probably still am deep down. But I'd love to tell that kid and say, you're going to make this someday, Yeah.
You should definitely be very, very proud of it.
Thank you.
So to all the viewers listening to this, what's the one thing you'd like to tell them about this film or anything, whether that be following your dreams or anything to do with that? What would you tell them?
Crikey, that's a big question. Well, in terms of kind of doing things in life, I think it's so important to do something that you're passionate about, and to do that. Don't have regrets. Don't be pushed into something and think later on, I could have done that. If you want to do something, if you want to go and see a band more than anything, go and see them. Arrange it, make it happen, but it won't come to you. You have to sometimes go out and make things happen. I think, looking back, there are so many things in my life where I thought, I'll sit here and I'll wait for the opportunity to come across my path, and they don't. You have to go out and find them. So go out and seek them, because they're out there, and if it's fate that you will encounter this or do something, you will. It's there. And about the film, I'd say don't be put off by thinking, it's a local filmmaker with a cast of people that you haven't heard of, filming locally. Don't be put off by that. I'm really incredibly proud of the film, and it's up to a point. It's more than I thought it would be. In many aspects, it's more impressive than I thought, and I think it's a beautiful film visually, and I think that's down to everybody, and I think definitely on the big screen. I think it's a film for the big screen, and the screening on the 23rd of June, 2:30 at St George's, will be a unique occasion, because a lot of the cast and crew will be there, and I'll be honest, I don't think that they will all be in that place again. So a few of them are making a 4-hour drive to see it, 4 hours there, 4 hours back, for one film lasting 70 minutes. Go and see it.
Okay, so obviously you've just said it's at the St George's Theatre, and the cast will be there, and it's definitely a very good opportunity if people want to meet the cast of the film. So thank you for coming in and talking to me today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And for anyone listening, if you'd like to go and purchase the tickets, they're £5 on St George's Theatre in Great Yarmouth. The screening is taking place at 2:30 on the 23rd of June. Get your tickets, and we will see you there. Thank you very much, Richard.
Great, thank you, Jack. Wonderful.
You're very welcome.